Princess of Wales is being praised for leading the royal response to Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview. It's been revealed Kate played a key role in what's now being considered a brilliant takedown of her sister-in-law's claims. Joining me now to discuss the latest is royal commentator Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, tell us about Kate's idea here. She managed to get the point home with a few choice words.
That's right. This is coming from Valentine Lowe's republication of his book, Courtiers. This is an updated version. And he says that those very famous, iconic lines, recollections may vary, almost did not make the final cut. And I'm sure you remember this. Those were almost the most important lines of that Oprah Winfrey interview rebuttal that the palace released. Valentine says that it was Catherine, the Princess of Wales, that really put her foot down and said that the world was going to judge them years from now by this statement and would assume that Harry and Meghan were telling the truth unless they were more aggressive in denying their claims. And so she really, she had a boss moment there and said, we need to include these lines. Recollections may vary.
I thought it was the Queen who was behind those lines, just because it kind of was her understated yet strong manner. But no, it was Kate. And I think this is a different side of Kate to what we are used to seeing. It seems like she's the brains and the beauty behind the throne.
What a great way to describe her. The Queen did have final say, absolutely. So I do think we should credit the Queen on final approval. But we have heard for years that Catherine was, always was in it for the long game, that she saw the bigger picture, and that's why her behavior was so different to someone like Meghan Markle. And this is a fantastic example of that.
Well, because the two versions they were looking at, one was a little bit softer in its response, wasn't it? And by including those few words, it really was a very polite, a very classy way of saying they may be lying. So I thought that was very important to put in there, because back then, particularly in the US, Kinsey, there was a willingness from the public to believe Harry and Meghan's story. I think now there's a lot more doubt, even in California, their new homeland. But back then, there was a lot of Americans who thought what they were hearing must be the gospel truth.
Well, I know you're going to be talking to some other people about the Supreme Court decisions. As you're hyper aware, America is such a polarizing country when it comes to race. And Harry and Meghan really took advantage of that with the Oprah Winfrey interview, and it created a divide that you cannot deny. They should be using their authority to bring people together or to teach people real, true lessons, but instead it feels like they're creating such animosity. And I think that this was Catherine and the royal family saying, we're not going to stand here and allow this to go any further, because it does hurt our reputation. It does hurt our brand. Look at what the king has done with the Prince's Trust. People of color have always been a priority to King Charles. And you can look at the statistics of the things that he's accomplished over many decades to see that. So the idea that there was a royal racist, that Rita, don't forget, they later denied they ever said, was very hurtful towards the family, I think professionally and I think personally.
Now, there's a new piece in Rolling Stone magazine that says Harry and Meghan are officially in their flop era. Kinsey, the writer claims the appetite is waning for their content stream. This is bad news indeed, because Rolling Stone says it's a lefty publication nowadays, a shadow of its former self, and it's precisely the type of media that Harry and Meghan would have counted on for support. But even they're jumping off.
Isn't that amazing? You were just saying this. They definitely had the left, at their beck and call, that would just buy their stories. They would do no due diligence in confirming the things that were said. I mean, to reference the Oprah interview that we're looking at right there, Oprah did not ask any questions to ask them to prove anything that they claimed right there live in that interview. But I think that the Rolling Stone author makes a really great point. Go all in on the Kardashians, reinvent yourself. I'd say even go further and just do the reality show and take the power away from the media that is watching their every move and examining their every move. If they did a reality show, they would be in control of the narrative every week, and we would have much less power. But yeah, the Rolling Stone article just says we're not buying it anymore. You're not that interesting, and you gotta rebrand. You gotta do something different. And this was very surprising coming from Rolling Stone magazine.
Well, you know what they could do differently? They can get some jobs, because that's what they don't have. Just talking about yourself, I don't know if that's an actual job, especially when people are no longer interested in hearing it.
And when you're boring, Rita, when you're boring.
When you're boring, when your entire narrative is woe is me, I'm the world's most, pampered victim. That seems to be the entire story now. The entire personality is, look at me, I'm sad in my mansion. I need more adulation. Please, give me a break. Now, this article by Jeremy Clarkson, you'll remember the outrage to it was enormous. He fantasised about Meghan Markle being paraded naked through the streets. Now, it's been found to be sexist by the UK press watchdog. The TV personality wrote the column back in December. He's since apologised. He said he's not sexist. Kinsey, do you agree the article that linked to her gender was sexist, or did people miss the obvious, very obvious, I would say, Game of Thrones references there? It seemed though he was, people thought he was serious about his Meghan as Cersei fantasy. I mean, that's a scene from the series. I could not believe the hyperbole around this article.
I actually didn't get the reference. I don't think it was sexist, although I don't think it was necessary. I think I watch your show religiously. I watch other shows religiously. Like you said, there are some very legitimate arguments to be made about Harry and Meghan and their credibility. They're not honest. They don't seem to be kind. They don't practice what they preach. You look at Archewell and you look at how much money Archewell receives and how much they donate. There are some very serious questions around Harry and Meghan. So I didn't think that this article was necessary. Do I think it's sexist? Not really, but I wish he wouldn't have done it, solely because when you and I criticize Harry and Meghan for very legitimate claims, we're told we're bullies, and we're not. But when you lump that into the Clarkson article, then it does make us appear like we're being unfair. And in reality, we are making some very legitimate observations.
Well, yes, it did give the couple a whole new opportunity to play the victim. So for them, I think it was in a way a godsend, because, a lot of people did miss that reference. To me, because I love Game of Thrones, as soon as I read those lines, I thought of that particular scene. Kinsey Schofield, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.